In Bethesda games, you can get addicted to certain aid items. The late great Mitten Squad made a video. Can you beat Fallout 4 while addicted to every chem? And I wanted to try that in Starfield. So I ask, can you beat Starfield while addicted to chems? I rush through the intro scene and get to the character creator. I made my character look like an Aurora addict and chose Space Scoundrel as my background. For traits, I chose Neon Street Rat because it's fitting, and Terra Firma. I first tried to get addicted to alcohol. I spawned in a bunch of bourbon and drank it all but didn't get addicted. After doing some research, it seems you can only get addicted to proper chems. I used console commands to give myself 100 Aurora and tried to spam it, but it only lets you use one at a time. I then gave myself a bunch of battle stim and used them all, and that didn't get me addicted. The third drug I added to my inventory was Squall, and that took only a few to get addicted. So I planted the Aurora in someone's locker. Addiction works different in this game than in Fallout. Apparently all chems share the same addiction status, stimulant addiction. Now that I'm addicted, I go outside and listen to Lynn and Barrett talk. I kill the pirates and go back to Barrett and the game crashes. That's great! Now I have to listen to them talk and kill the pirates again. Barrett gave us his ship and we took off into space. We were attacked by more pirates, but they were easily defeated. Vasco said we have to go confront the pirate captain on a moon, so we landed and went into the facility they occupied. I looted the place for stuff to sell and found a rare Kraken in the safe. It's a piece of crap, but you guys probably know my love for machine pistols by now. I cleared out the pirates inside, picked up some nutritious Femboy milk, and threatened the captain to back down. I took off for Jimison and landed in New Atlantis. First thing I did was sell my junk at the Trade Authority kiosk, and accidentally a Digipig too. Then a lady talked to me about joining the Trackers Alliance. This is the new quest they recently added to the game. The free one, I am paying for mods. Thought you had to get to Mars first for it to trigger, but I guess not. I said I accepted her invitation, and continued on through the city. Immediately headed for this mod store that's supposed to sell old Earth weapons. Talked to the merchant, and he didn't have any stock or credits for some reason, so I decided I'd come back later. I then went to the Centurion Arsenal to see their stock, but they didn't have anything that interested me. I then went to the lodge and let them yap before getting into our personal room. I went in there and picked up a free creation pistol in 777, which looks pretty sleek. I also slept for 48 hours to try to reset the vendor's inventory. I picked up Sarah and went back to the store, but he still didn't have anything. So I left a comment on the guy's Reddit post on the mod. It's only on the creation thing, not the Nexus. I then went to the Vanguard HQ and told the guy I'm willing to sign up. Luckily, there's no drug test for the UC military. We have to do a flight simulation test to see if we're a good enough pilot, and I passed the test barely on my first try. The test was bugging or something because there was an overlay obscuring my ship power display, and also it said to hit right stick to use ship parts to heal, but instead of doing that, it would just go into photo mode. UC needs to work out some kinks in their system, I guess. I took the oath to join, and he gave us our first official task as Vanguard. I also talked to him about what we need to do for Constellation. Before leaving New Atlantis, I planted an olive seed for a guy, and found a slate a different guy lost. I also got a letter to deliver to a lady and a bounty on an alien creature. I stole a bunch of stuff in the well to sell to the Trade Authority, and then finally took the ship to Mars. I delivered the letter and got a quest from a guy to go exterminate some heat leeches. A tracker wants me to plant a beacon on a tall place, but I can't do that yet because I don't have boost pack training. Another woman said her ship was stolen and wanted us to check it out. The ship was commandeered by Ecliptic Mercs, but I convinced them to leave. I leveled up and got boost pack training so I could plant a thing for the tracker. I talked to the guy for a story mission, then went back to New Atlantis to start our first job as a member of the Vanguard. We have to go to Tau Ceti 2, and when we get there, everyone is dead except for one lady. Turns out they were all killed by a terramorph. Think of it as the Death Claws this game. I flipped some switches and turned on turrets, and then just snuck around until it was shot to death. I took a sample of it and went back to Mast and reported our findings, and then went back to Cydonia. After selling junk at the Trade Authority, we start searching out a scientist we need to analyze the terramorph sample. Problem is, he's in hiding because he's in a bunch of debt. We could just pay off his debt and move along with the quest, but I don't wanna. I talked to a guy, and he says they were researching a new chem that can be traded for the cancellation of debts. We can finish the research ourselves by going to this old mine, but it's infested with spacers that we have to clear out. After dealing with them, we take the research data and exchange it for clearing the scientist's debt, and also a few credits for our trouble. He was hiding in an old Xeno warfare facility, so we give him the Terramorph sample and then head back to Cydonia once more, and then back to Jemison. At Mast, Hadrian tells us she's a clone of Francois Sanan, who was big in the UC military during the Colony War and was executed for supposed war crimes. One of the reasons for his execution was that he shot at civilian ships. Thing is, those ships were attacking the UC military at the time, so they were active combatants. Hardly a war crime. The second thing is that he bombed a UC city that was suffering a Terramorph outbreak in order to prevent them from getting off the planet. You can argue whether that was right or not, but it doesn't really seem like a war crime. Anyway, we have to persuade the cabinet, the military and political leadership of the UC, to let us access super secret info about Terramorphs. The info was locked away after the war, and we have to get permission from the UC, Freestar Collective, and House Varun to take it. We convinced the cabinet, and then immediately after there was a Terramorph attack. Apparently Terramorphs can do some kind of mind control for some reason, so we have to use an EM weapon against some civilians. Then we meet the Terramorph, which is of course a bullet sponge. They also cause stupid hallucinations. I killed a couple more, and we saved the day. Now we have to convince Freestar and Varun to let us get the info. FC is easy enough, we just have to convince some lady. But Varun is another deal. House Varun left the galaxy, and there's only one diplomat guy left, holed up in the embassy. There are robots we have to fight through, and turns out he locked himself in a room somehow. He gives us his permission, and we go pick up the info. UC fast-tracked our citizenship as a reward, and sent us downstairs to talk to a mystery man. I wonder if it'll be who I think it is. We get there, and it's Francois Sanan! Gasp! The UC faked his death, and they keep him in a super secret prison cell. Apparently he's helping with tracking down war criminals. He wants us to track down some guy named Orlaise and kill him. UC wants us to bring him in alive. We also have to go to a place called the Den, where we can also pick up a couple quests that will conveniently take us back to New Atlantis so we can do them on the way. We get the location of Orlaise's ship and board it, but he kills himself, saving us the trouble of having to decide what to do with him. I love when RPGs don't give me choices. I loot his ship and go back to Jemison, where I do our little side quests and return to Francois. He tells us we'll need to find a robot called Kaiser. But before continuing this, I go to Saturn's moon Titan and explore the settlement there, New Homestead. I take a tour of the place and then get back to our mission. We pay a guy to tell us where the robot is and go that way. There are leftover Xeno weapons called Sirens littering the place. I easily find the robot, but he needs a battery cell, which we can find the parts for in the dead mechs that are around. After fighting more Sirens and Ecliptic, I just about run out of ammo, so I head back to Centurion Arms in New Atlantis and stock up, also getting a VSS Venturas, which is added by the Better Old Earth hunting rifle mod. I kill more Sirens and get all the parts for a battery and fabricate one. I then go back to the robot and power him up, and he won't go with us just yet, of course. He's on a mission to hunt down some giant Siren, and we have to help him. It's being controlled by Ecliptic, and they were all easy enough to kill. Then we head back to Mars, and they've somehow captured this giant creature that supposedly hunts Terramorphs. She said the plan is to deploy these things across the galaxy. The other option is some microbe released into the air that is supposed to kill the Terramorphs. We have to go pick up a Sealy samples to clone more of them, and they're coincidentally in the city Francois had bombed, Londinian. There are a ton of goodies for us to pick up there, including the spacesuit, which is pretty cool. There are alien creatures being controlled by the Terramorphs that we have to put down, and then the Terramorphs themselves. Further in, we discover how Terramorphs have been breeding. Heat leeches, the funny little guys that slither around everywhere, are baby Terramorphs. A special plant that grows only on this planet speeds up their growth somehow. Could this not have been found out by genetic testing? We find out from a recording that Francois knew about this, and that he talked about it with the Colonel Akalov guy. We kill a giant boss Terramorph, and I limped back to the ship because I got hypothermia and frostbite. Now it seems that the attacks were spurred on by a human, and our two suspects are Francois and Akalov. Francois has been in prison for 20 years, and he seems like he was wrongfully sentenced in the first place, so I'm suspecting this Akalov guy. But no, we go back to Francois, and he admits it was somehow him that did it. He's just mustache-twirling evil. And no one ever talks about the Akalov guy. This was really a missed opportunity to make Francois more of an interesting character. He could have been conflicted for his decisions he made, and could have had his name cleared by helping us. But no, Bethesda can't write. Anyway, he wants us to keep it a secret from the cabinet that he did it. You're really telling me they don't have microphones down here listening to their super secret prisoner? That's not believable. Anyway, go back to the cabinet and tell them it was him. We now have to make two decisions that have no repercussions at all. Should we share the knowledge of this plant with the other factions? And should we use the Aciles or the microbe? I say yes, tell Freestar, and go with the Aciles. After that, we get upgraded to a Class 1 citizen. I don't like the idea of different classes of citizens. I wish we could turn down the offer, but there's no choice to do that, of course. That's the end of the UC storyline. It was about as lackluster as I expected it to be. Definitely did not top the FC's quest. We now have some new quests unlocked, and I did one twice before looking it up and seeing that they're Radiant quests. For this one that you have to collect alien samples, you have to walk all the way down into the Mars base to get it. We get Hadrian as a companion and can now go back to the main quest. How fun. I kill some Varun ships and then go to a base near the moon. I run out of carrying space, so I head back over to Jimison to sell some stuff, and stumble into a quest to hide some unlucky boots at the den. I buy a cool shotgun and then go there, and a guy buys them off of us for 500 credits. I went back to the moon base and did a bunch of looting while Sarah was fighting, but it was a waste of time because I ended up having to drop stuff. I sold a bunch of junk and went to Moara's ship and saved him from mercs. I got the artifact from him and took it back to Constellation, and then met Vladimir. We went and saved Heller and Barrett, and then checked up on Andreja for Vlad. We found another artifact in the cave she was in, and then did basically the same thing to get an artifact on another planet. My cutter is kind of bugged out, but I can still use it on the artifacts, which is good. I took them back to the lodge and met with Vladimir again, who wants us to investigate an anomaly. This is our first temple, which gives us a superpower. I showed it off to the Constellation gang, and system hopped to Aquila, where I started the Trackers Alliance quest. We first had to go look around the town for this guy, and it was boring, and then we had to go to the space base with zero gravity, and was making me motion sick, and the quest marker was bugging out and not updating for some reason, so I just reloaded an earlier save back to Jimison and gave up on that quest line. Instead, I went back to the main quest and talked down the stupid bank robbers in Aquila. Then we could get into the vault to see the maps we needed aren't there, and then we convinced Sam's dad to hand over the maps so we can go to the Shah hideout where the next artifact is. I run around like a madman shooting everything, and go in the cave and get the thing, then come out and kill Shah and the Ashtas. I then go to Volai Epsilon and Washakie to get 2 more powers. I'm running out of space yet again, so I go and sell some stuff at the Trade Authority. I got powers from Procyon 4 and Dionysus, and then Oberon 2A, which had a Terramorph on it. I then went to Neon to buy the artifact with Stroud, and killed the goon who came to take it from us. We now have to meet with Slayton, and we take out a couple of guards before talking to him. After that, we take off from Neon and get confronted by the Starborn, and we just have to leave and go back to the lodge. As a reward, we get a crappy rifle that I drop on Noelle's head while she's talking. Then we go to RNA to take out some pirates and get an artifact, and then do the same thing but with spacers on Indom 3B. Then we head back and mess around on the eye a little before learning where we have to go next. There's a collector on board the scow that we need to steal the artifact from. In the vanilla game, there's no stealth option and you're forced into combat with him, but I got a mod that allows a stealthy approach. I was gonna try using it, but I walked through this door and the guards started attacking me, so I guess we aren't going to. Grab the artifact, get lost a bit, trying to get out, and then return to the ship. They kept killing us as soon as we'd undock, and it took a few tries to grav jump to safety. Stealing the artifact still gives a bounty, and the UC confronted me, and I reloaded a save because I didn't want to lose all my stolen stuff. I put it all in Hadrian, and then had to escape from the scow again. I went back to Jemison, and they actually let me pay off the bounty instead of being shanghaied into the Crimson Fleet quest. I don't know if this is because of a mod or what, but it's definitely a welcome change. Teleports me to the UC security building, and I'm not cleared for landing, which apparently means I can't fast travel to the lodge, so I walk all the way there. Once I get there, the Eye is under attack, and we stay at the lodge to defend the artifacts. The hunter shows up, and we run away from him to the ship. He leaves, and we go to the Eye to find the dead Sarah. We now have to talk to some religious people, and after that go to Indom 2 to get where we need to go next. It's too far to grav jump directly to, and Porma 2 is on the way, so we stop by there to do first contact. I checked Hadrian for my ammo I stored on her earlier, but she doesn't have it. I guess stolen goods on companions get taken too? That's pretty dumb. But I'm not reloading. I have a mod that lets us actually kill the CEO guy on Porma and let the colonists settle. It's called Eat the Rich. Cringy name, I know. This guy ran in front of me while shooting the guards, so I had to reload a save and talk to the CEO man again. After killing him, you have to fight your way out of Paradiso, which is actually pretty cool. After getting back to the ship, we get a future 1911 as a reward. I then do the stupid scorpion puzzle and go to meet with the hunter and the emissary. We get told to go to the moon and then to Earth to learn some lore, and get an artifact as a bonus. Once we take it, a bunch of Starborn show up and they're decently difficult, but I beat them by using my powers to knock them on the floor, and then pump them full of 9x39 with my AS Val. I decide to side with the hunter after this because I've never done it before. He wants us to assassinate Keeper Aquilus, but I warn him and tell him to leave instead. I next went to the planet Frost to grab another artifact, and then Freya 3. There's a research station there that houses the artifact, and distortions from it are causing us to fade in and out of dimensions. The timeline split when this guy chose to either sacrifice himself or save himself from an explosion. In the exploded timeline, scorpion-like creatures have overrun the place and made it look Resident Evil-y. We get a machine that allows us to go between the dimensions where we find little rifts. We have to go down to the basement to shut off the machine that's causing the problems. In the not blown up world, there are robots active for some reason. I went down to the lab and pressed all the funny buttons to stop the machine and stabilize the reality, dooming everyone else in the other dimension. Because I'm evil. I go to the last planet, Masada, but since I sided with the hunter, the emissary annihilates our ship. So I fly all the way back to Aquila to buy a new ship. Try the fight again and defeat her with the ship's superior ballistics, and she flees to the temple on the planet. Once we land, we have to fight through a bunch of Starborn encounters. They're not that tough thanks to our companions. I took an elevator and the hunter twerked at me, and then we fought the final Starborn who made duplicates of ourselves to fight us. Then we entered the temple proper and spoke to the emissary, who we convinced to hand over the artifact. The hunter patted us on the head and said good job, and we left and grav jumped into the Unity. We talked to ourselves and entered the funny sphere and beat Starfield while addicted to chems. Would I recommend this challenge? No, because it involves playing Starfield. Play a different game instead. Thank you for watching. I mostly do New Vegas stuff, so there's a playlist of those videos on screen. And if you want to watch my other Starfield video, it's on there too, because this is probably going to be the last Starfield challenge I do.